The American dream promises freedom, prosperity, and opportunity. Yet millions of Americans today feel anything but wealthy. Despite living in one of the world's wealthiest nations, many are drowning in debt, struggling to cover basic necessities, and worried about an uncertain financial future. Why is it that in a country so rich in resources, people feel so poor? It's not just about income, it's about the crushing weight of comparison, the psychological toll of inequality, and the complex reality of a modern American life. The story of American wealth is no longer about living well, it's about getting by. Meet Sarah, a single mother of two, working 2 jobs and barely managing to keep the lights on. Despite her efforts, she finds herself constantly stressed over bills and uncertain about her children's future. Down the street, there's John, a successful tech employee who earns 6 figures. But between student loans, mortgage payments, and rising living costs, he too feels like he's only treading water. These stories aren't rare. In fact, they echo across America. The question arises, how did we get here? Why in a land of abundance do so many feel financially trapped? America, often hailed as the land of opportunity, can be deceptive when it comes to wealth. While the country boasts massive economic success, this wealth is concentrated in a select few sectors and individuals, leaving millions struggling to maintain financial stability. Social media platforms exacerbate this illusion, with influencers and advertisements showcasing luxury cars, lavish vacations, and high-end gadgets as attainable for everyone. The pressure to maintain this lifestyle forces many to overspend, relying on credit cards and loans to afford homes, cars, and the latest tech. For the average American, the reality is far from this picture of prosperity. Many live paycheck to paycheck, unable to save for emergencies or retirement. The obsession with consumerism masks the real issue. Financial security has become harder to achieve. The rise of buy now, pay later services and credit card usage creates the illusion that financial freedom is within reach. Yet the resulting debt leaves people feeling trapped, overwhelmed, and far from prosperous. The illusion of wealth distracts Americans from the underlying systemic issues, wage stagnation and rising living costs, that are the real culprits. While the U.S. economy might look strong from the outside, many Americans are caught in a cycle of debt and financial pressure, which deepens the feeling of being poor in a wealthy nation. Stagnant wages and rising costs. One of the core issues contributing to the financial struggle of Americans is the growing gap between stagnant wages and the rising cost of living. Over the past few decades, wages have not kept pace with inflation. While the economy has grown, this growth has disproportionately benefited corporations and the wealthy, leaving the average worker with little to no real increase in income. As a result, even though people are working more, they have less purchasing power than previous generations. Housing, healthcare, and education costs have soared, but wages have barely budged. In cities like San Francisco, New York, and Los Angeles, the cost of living is so high that even high-income earners struggle to afford basic necessities. Many people are forced to take on multiple jobs just to make ends meet, leaving little time or energy to invest in long-term financial goals like saving for retirement or buying a home. The American dream, which once promised upward mobility, now feels out of reach for millions. At the same time, employers often fail to provide adequate benefits or job security, contributing to the broader sense of economic instability. As costs continue to rise and wages stagnate, the middle class is shrinking, and financial anxiety is growing, making Americans feel poorer even when they're working harder than before. Crushing student debt. Student debt has become a defining financial challenge for younger generations, particularly millennials and Gen Z. Higher education, once seen as a pathway to financial success, has become a financial burden for millions. Over the past several decades, the cost of college has skyrocketed, outpacing inflation and leaving students with no choice but to take on massive loans. Today, the average student loan borrower graduates with nearly $30,000 in debt, with some owing significantly more. The total student debt in the U.S. has surpassed $1.7 trillion, a number that continues to grow each year. This debt severely hampers the ability of young adults to achieve traditional financial milestones like buying a home, starting a family, or saving for retirement. Monthly student loan payments can consume a significant portion of an individual's income, leaving little room for discretionary spending or saving. The burden of student loans also creates a pervasive sense of financial insecurity, as even well-paying jobs often aren't enough to keep up with loan payments and other living expenses. Moreover, student debt has a psychological toll. Many young adults feel trapped by their loans, unable to pursue their dreams or invest in their futures. The crushing weight of student debt made financial stability feel like an unattainable goal for millions of Americans. The healthcare dilemma. Healthcare in the U.S. is a major financial burden for millions of Americans. Unlike other developed countries with universal healthcare, Americans are often left to navigate confusing and expensive private healthcare systems. Even with insurance, high premiums, deductibles, and out-of-pocket costs can lead to crushing medical debt. Medical emergencies, surgeries, or even routine care can result in unexpected bills that devastate family finances. Medical debt is one of the leading causes of bankruptcy in the U.S. A report by the Kaiser Family Foundation revealed that approximately 1/3 of Americans struggle to pay medical bills, and many delay necessary treatments or forgo health care entirely due to high costs. The lack of affordable care leaves millions in financial limbo, where one illness or accident can upend their financial well-being for years to come. Even those with stable jobs, decent salaries feel the pinch. With employers shifting more healthcare costs to employees, many find their paychecks consumed by healthcare expenses. This constant worry about healthcare creates a deep sense of financial insecurity. No matter how much people save or earn, the unpredictable and often exorbitant costs of healthcare can leave Americans feel like they're one medical bill away from financial ruin. Wealth inequality and the psychological toll. Wealth inequality in America has reached levels not seen since the Gilded Age. Its psychological impact cannot be ignored. While the richest 1% control more than 30% of the nation's wealth, the bottom 50% struggle to claim a mere 2%. The extreme disparity isn't just a numbers game, it has profound effects on how people perceive their financial standing and well-being. The constant exposure to the lives of the ultra-wealthy, particularly through social media, creates a culture of comparison. While someone might be financially stable, they can still feel poor when measuring themselves against billionaires and influencers who flaunt their luxury lifestyles. This creates a distorted perception of success where only extreme wealth is seen as making it, leaving many to feel they're falling short. Additionally, wealth inequality drives a sense of societal imbalance. People recognize that the system is skewed in favor of the rich, creating a sense of frustration and helplessness. The lack of upward mobility compounds this issue, as many Americans believe that no matter how hard they work, they can't break into the upper echelons of society. This creates a cycle of dissatisfaction where even those who are financially comfortable feel insecure because the gap between themselves and the super rich is so vast and seemingly unattainable. The gig economy and job insecurity. The rise of the gig economy has introduced both opportunities and challenges for American workers. While platforms like Uber, DoorDash, and Fiverr offer flexible work opportunities, they also contribute to a growing sense of job insecurity. Many gig workers face inconsistent income, lack of benefits, and minimal job protection, leaving them vulnerable to economic fluctuations. The gig economy has become a lifetime for many who struggle to find traditional full-time employment. However, it's often a double-edged sword. While the flexibility can be appealing, the lack of stability can lead to financial anxiety. Gig workers are responsible for their own healthcare, retirement savings, and paid time off, costs that traditional employers typically cover. Without these safety nets, many gig workers are left living paycheck to paycheck, with little room for savings or long-term financial planning. Furthermore, the gig economy has blurred the line between employment and entrepreneurship. Gig workers are technically independent contractors, meaning they don't have the same labor protections as employees. This arrangement often leaves workers with little recourse if their income dries up or if they are suddenly deactivated from a platform. For many, the gig economy offers temporary financial relief, but it also reinforces the feeling that long-term financial security is out of reach. Inflation and the erosion of purchasing power. Inflation is another silent force that contributes to the feeling of poverty among Americans. Over the years, the cost of everyday goods and services has steadily increased, while wages have largely stagnated. As a result, even those who receive periodic raises often find that their increased earnings don't go as far as they used to. This gradual erosion of purchasing power leaves many feeling like they're constantly falling behind, even when they're earning more on paper. Everyday essentials, grocery, gas, utilities, have all become more expensive, leaving less money for discretionary spending or savings. For lower-income households, inflation is especially painful, as a larger portion of their income goes towards these necessities. Even minor increases in prices can have a significant impact on the ability to make ends meet. For middle-class families, inflation erodes their sense of financial stability. They have the same salary as they did 5 years ago, but rising costs means they can't afford the same lifestyle. The decline of the middle class. The American middle class, once the bedrock of the nation's economy, has been steadily shrinking. Decades ago, a middle-class income could comfortably support a family, pay for a home, and provide a secure retirement. However, in recent years, the middle class has faced mounting challenges, including stagnant wages, rising living costs, and increased financial pressures. The decline of unionized labor, coupled with the rise of automation and globalization, has hollowed out many traditional middle-class jobs. Manufacturing and other stable, well-paying jobs have disappeared or been outsourced, leaving many workers with lower-paying service jobs. Additionally, the cost of essential services like healthcare, education, and housing has risen sharply, putting further strain on middle-class families. For many Americans, the middle-class dream, homeownership, retirement savings, and the ability to support a family feels increasingly unattainable. The economic pressures facing the middle class have left many feeling financially squeezed, even if they have a stable job and decent income. The erosion of middle-class stability is a significant reason why so many Americans feel financially insecure despite living in a country with vast wealth. Consumer debt and the credit trap. Consumer debt has become a major source of financial stress for millions of Americans. Credit cards, personal loans, and auto loans offer convenient ways to finance purchases, but they also trap people in cycles of debt. The average American household carries around $6,000 in credit card debt, and high interest rates make it difficult to pay off these balances. Over time, the interest compounds, leading to mounting financial obligations that are hard to escape. For many, credit is used not for luxury purchases, but for everyday necessities like groceries, medical bills, and car repairs. When wages are stagnant and savings are depleted, debt becomes the only way to manage unexpected expenses. However, this reliance on credit can quickly spiral into a financial crisis, as monthly payments become overwhelming and take a significant portion of an individual's income. The psychological toll of debt is significant. It creates a sense of being trapped, where even hard work and discipline don't seem to make a dent in the outstanding balance. The role of government and policy failures. Government policies have played a significant role in exacerbating the financial struggles many Americans face today. Over the past few decades, tax cuts for the wealthy, deregulation, and a lack of robust social safety nets have deepened wealth inequality. Policies that were meant to stimulate economic growth have often benefited corporations and the wealthy, while leaving the working and middle class behind. For example, tax policies such as the 2017 tax cuts and a Jobs Act significantly reduced corporate tax rates and allowed for wealth accumulation at the top. Meanwhile, vital public services such as education and healthcare have suffered from underfunding, leaving individuals to bear the brunt of these costs. Government inaction on issues like minimum wage stagnation has further widened the income gap. The federal minimum wage has remained at $7.25 since 2009, despite rising inflation and cost of living. As a result, millions of low-income workers struggle to make ends meet, while wealthy Americans enjoy tax breaks and financial advantages. For many Americans, the government's failure to address these fundamental issues makes them feel abandoned by the very institutions meant to protect and empower them. This lack of trust in government action or intervention only deepens the sense of financial insecurity and helplessness many Americans experience. Until systemic changes are made, government policies will continue to play a critical role in why so many Americans feel poor despite living in one of the world's richest countries. The sense of financial insecurity that many Americans feel is the result of a complex web of factors: rising costs, stagnant wages, crushing debt, and a culture of comparison that magnifies inequality. While America may be one of the wealthiest nations on earth, that wealth is concentrated in the hands of a few, while many are left feeling as though they are just scraping by. It's not just about the numbers on a paycheck. It's about broader economic landscape that shapes people's day-to-day lives. Until systemic issues like wage stagnation, healthcare costs, and wealth inequality are addressed, the feeling of being poor in a rich nation will continue to haunt millions of Americans.